Now, can you imagine this? Having some investment somewhere for you that is making money that is equivalent for that what you need to survive without having any stress out there. Now, that's what we call the financial freedom or financial stability. That's when you reach to a point whereby you don't even have to worry about work and all those kind of things, okay? Now, guess what? On this video, honestly speaking, I'm going to share with you 7 practical investments that you can be able to do and forget about working again. This is a continuation of a video that I made sometimes back, but this one gonna go a little bit details, okay? Anyway, by the way, if you're watching me for the first time, my name is Joseph. Talk about investments, money, and anything related to that. Go watch my videos are all over the place, all right? And maybe you're a returning subscriber. Thank you for your eyeballs always, okay? And by the way, don't forget to, if you've been watching my videos without subscribing, come on, hit that button down below there on your right. There is a small button written subscribe. Hit that magical button, like this video. By the way, that's like telling me, hey, God Joseph, thank you for doing this. And also leave your comment down below, all right? And if you're in a position to share this video, come on, do so, all right? Let's go to the point now. Number one, for you to be able to understand what investment that you need for you to invest into, or investments that you need for you to invest onto, so that at least you do not work again. First of all, the first question that you need to answer yourself is, how much is your recurrent expenditure? How much do you need to survive? For example, you watching me right now, how much do you need for your rent, your food, your entertainment? How much do you need for your school fees? Maybe say if you are educating or something of sort, all right? You see, when you talk about not working and getting some money, people think about retirement. It doesn't have to be until you wait until you hit 60. No, come on, that's not exactly what I mean. Now, see, when you answer that question, for example, how much goes for your rent? How much goes for your something, let's say food? How much goes for your fuel if you have a car, or if you are thinking about getting a car? How much goes for your school fees? All right, how much goes for your something like let's talk about black tax. Maybe you're helping some people back at home or something of sort. Hey, come on, if you're watching me from Africa, black tax, you cannot avoid it, all right? So if you were to calculate all that amount of money, say in a period of 1 month, how much do you need to survive? Some families, for example, you can say, hey, Joseph, you know what? If you give me 40,000 at the end of the month, then I'm able to survive. If you give me 60, if you give me 100,000, if you give me 30, if you give me 100, all those kind of things. See, you have to understand your mathematics so that they can be able to guide you on what you need to invest on for you to be able to sustain your life without having any stress. I love this question. Most of the people who in diaspora ask me, hey, you know what, Joseph, I want to come back home in Kenya, and I want to live my life that I don't want a lot of stresses, and I want to have a lifestyle that I can be able to be fed by 100,000. So, Joseph, where can I invest and how can I be able to do so? Now, this is that video that you need to watch until the end. All right, now let's get into the business. Now, what are these investments? Now, we're going to take an example of somebody who survives on a monthly recurrent expenditure of 50,000. That is just about an example. All right, let's say in your month somebody gives you 50,000 and tells you, hey, that's money for spending. Is your life gonna be okay? Fine. If it's okay, now that's the very, very first step that you need to understand. Now, let's go into the practicabilities of how you attain this. Okay, now the question is this: how much do I need? How much? That is a question. How much do I need to invest? All right, to be able to get this monthly. You get what I'm saying? Now, let's get into the business. Now, the question is this: what are the examples of the areas of investment that usually pays per month? That doesn't matter. But we have one that is called MMF, Money Market Fund. But we're going to talk about that later. Let's first of all talk of areas where you can be able to invest on this. And one of the best areas where you can actually invest on and never forget about working will forever remain to be real estate. If you can be able to go ahead and get started on the real estate, you are good to go. And I know what you're thinking right now. Hey, Joseph, you have lost me. I don't have the millions to invest on real estate. It's okay. No problem. You don't have to worry about that. There are 2 ways of getting into the real estate. You can actually, A is what is the most commonly by the people. This is what people know. Hey, you know what? You need a piece of property. Go buy that piece of property, or go buy a house somewhere, maybe worth like $1 million, and then rent it out, and then you're going to get your rental income. That is one way. That is the primary way. That is the primary way of getting into the what? Into the real estate. All right? That is the procedure number 1. There is number 2, whereby you don't need to go all these nitty-gritties of all these kind of things. There is something called rates. All right, rates. This is an area that you can be able to invest. Rates means real estate investment trusts. Rates. It's called rates. All right. So what does it mean? This is an already established company. This company, what does it do? It actually goes there and build commercial properties, rental properties, and all those kind of things. Okay. It can either be I rate or D rate. All right, so don't worry about those big names. So now, what does this company do? So what happens, for example, let's say they want to build a house that is worth, like, let's say like a 1 billion Kenyan shilling. All right, 1 billion Kenyan shilling. So what does it do? It goes out there and subdivides this amount of money and say, hey, guess what? We're gonna go out there and maybe have a number of people. Let's say maybe you need like 2,000 or 3,000 people. And then that out of 3,000 people, maybe you're gonna sell a share, maybe for example, we can sell a share maybe at 20 shillings. At 20 shillings. So what they do when they sell that share at 20 shillings, what happens is this. So a lot of people come together, they pool their resources, they go and build that building worth a million bob. That a million bob building gonna be getting some cash out of that in terms of the rent or whatever. And then that's what amount of money they get in terms of the profit. They share with you who is an investor, who has actually invested your 20 shillings or per investments. Maybe let's say you've invested your 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 for whatever. So at the end of the month, you're going to be getting your rental income. Well, in most cases, they usually pay in terms of called the dividends. Can be at the end of the year, it can be semi-annually, that is after 6 months. But at the end of the day, you can be able to get that amount of money, divide it per month so that at least you can be able to survive. That is route number one on how you can be able to get into rates. You can also get into something called real estate if you have the millions with you right now as we speak. Go build and get something at the end of the day. Number two, you can actually be able to get into something called excuse me, I've been talking about things to do with stocks or shares. This is an area, especially if you're not employed by anybody, you've never been employed by the government, you know nothing about being employed by the government. So you can get into the shares, you can get into the stocks. And what you're supposed to understand, again, we are being guided by the amount of money that we need at the end of the month. Okay, now, so how much stock do I need to buy for me to get a dividend that is equivalent to 50,000 at the end of the month? This is not a thing that you can just wake up, do it, boom, unless you have some cash somewhere with you and you just want to invest that money and you retire early. But if you do not, maybe you're employed somewhere, you get maybe, let's say 50,000 at the end of the month, you can be able to salvage 20k out of it. Then you can be able to invest that 20,000 continuously, build that beast. If you build that beast, let's say in the next period of time, maybe 5 years from today, 10 years from today, you're done. You're going to have a great portfolio of investment that's going to be generating this amount of money. And that is way how you get yourself out of the active working and rely on the passive income that you're getting at the end of the day. Let me just talk a little bit in a practical way. Let's say maybe at the end of the month, you can be able to save 10,000 or 15,000. Now you can decide out of this 10,000 or 15,000 I'm saving, I'm going to take 5,000. I'm going to channel that towards an investment in these stocks or shares. Remember one thing, in Kenya, you don't need to have a lot of money for you to invest on shares. Even with 300 shillings, that's like $3, okay? You can get into the stocks or shares. So once you get into that, then build that beast continuously. In a period of 5-6 months, or rather not months, but rather years, you're going to have yourself a portfolio that you can be generating some cash out there. And this message, let it reach to people who are not employed. You see, if you're employed by the government, you know at the end of the, say, when they tell you now you're about to get retired, they give you a couple of shillings that you can be able to go ahead and actually revamp yourself. You've been misusing money throughout your life, okay? But if you're not employed, this is an area that you should look upon when you want to do something as far as the investments are concerned. Okay, let's go to the point number 3. The point number 3 is what you call is my by the way, this is one of my favorite investments. It's called an MMF. If there is something great and good when it comes to investment, it's an MMF. MMF, money market fund. This is where you get your interest each and every day. It's credited each and every day, payable monthly and compounded yearly. I'm gonna repeat. See, MMF actually get your interest credited in your account daily, payable monthly, and compounded yearly. And it has something that is called compounding effect. It's like giving birth to babies who give birth to babies who give birth to babies. Like generation, it's like becomes a bulging generation. And by the way, once you get starting investing in MMF, you don't see any wonders in the first year. Even in second year, yeah, you start seeing some great things, but the wonder starts to happen when the moment you have a little bit of patience and you clock the third year. The moment you clock the third year, that's the time now you start to realize great things are happening, and that's the time now you realize your money are doubling in crazy way. At a crazy rate. So what you're supposed to understand with an MMF, you can pick it up. There is an MMF you can start with as low as 100 bob, 200, 300, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 100, a million, 2, 10 billion. See, It is open for anybody who is out there, and you can be able to do this. See, this is what you're gonna do. Right now, you're employed somewhere. You are bored about getting employed every time you're waking up, going to job, and all those kind of things. So how exactly do you do this? Go aside and go ahead and set aside a certain amount of money. Again, don't forget, I'm using this 50,000 as our guiding principle. So in a very simple procedure, we usually say a million bob should give you 10,000 as a return. Let me just write that down. A million bob. If you invest a million bob, okay, assuming that you get a return of at least 10%, that should be the guiding principle. You're gonna get yourself 10,000 as a return. All right. So if you need 50 G's, then it means that you need how much? You need 5 of these. So then it means that you need 5 million. You need 5 million as an investment for you to be able to realize this amount of money at the end of the month. All right. This is what now you do. I know this may sound like if wow, Joseph, 5 million is a lot of money. Joseph, I'm only on a 40,000 salary. Or Joseph, I'm only on 100,000. So you're telling me to invest 5 million, my brother, where am I gonna get that? You know, you're making your video sound like just a motivation. No, it's not a motivation, my dear. Remember, there was a time I told you, if you can only set 5,000, only just 5,000, and you're getting a flat rate of sale at 13% or something of sort in a period of 10 years, you have yourself a million bob. What if you can be able to salvage 20? What if you can be able to salvage 10 or maybe say 15 a month? Then how much do you think you can, or how long do you think you see? If 5 is giving you that amount of money in a period of 10 years, so it means that if you do 10, probably gonna give you like 6 or 7 years. What if you do 15? 3, 4, 5, 7, whatever, you have your million bob. Then it means in a period of 6 or 7 years, you already have that amount of money. And remember, don't forget this. You see, for example, if you were to invest like 15,000 in a money market fund continuously in a period of 1 year, how much do you have? And then you reinvest that money, whatever you are getting as any dividends, you just reinvest it. Compounding effect, compounding. By the time now you're clocking third, fourth, 5 years, this money is doubling like crazy. You're gonna be sick. By the time you're waiting for the 10 years to come, expecting that you're gonna have yourself 5 million, you're having close to 10 or something, you're gonna have yourself like crazy amount of money. That is exactly how we do it. See, what we lack is what we call the consistency, the discipline, and all those kind of things. If you do not have the consistency, if you do not have the motivation, the zeal, you do not have a long-term goal, you ain't gonna do all those kind of things. By the way, at the end of this video, you're gonna sound as if I'm talking about theoretical things. But if you can be an individual out there and be determined and say, hey, you know what, Joseph, yes, I do not get that big amount of money at the end of the day. Actually, I'm getting paid daily and I get like 500 each and every day. I'm gonna be salvaging 100 bob each and every day and put it in a money market fund continuously. In a period of 1 year, you have yourself 36,000 clean money saving by yourself plus the interest. We are talking about 40 G's at the end of the year. Now, come on, tell me, what can you do with the 40 G's? You can decide to get the money, get into the business. You can decide to get the money and you get what I'm saying? Continuously and do something as far as your life is concerned. Let's go to the point number 4. What other areas can you be able to invest and be able to retire yourself and never work again? So where you can be able to do this again on this in terms of investments, you can get into something called what do we call it? Index fund. That's what I'm forgetting the name. The index fund. Index fund I talked about on the last video, and people said, hey, you know what, Joseph, can kindly go ahead and elaborate on this index fund and what have you. Index funds kind of mirrors what we call the rates or maybe stocks or shares. Those are just but examples of areas where you can be able to invest your cash again and be able to earn dividends. Another thing that you can be able to invest on, that is point number 5, is something called T-bills and the T-bonds. See, T-bills and T-bonds. All right, T-bills and T-bonds in simple terms means lending government your cash, and T-bills is lending government your money in a short period of time. Bonds is lending government your money in a long period of time. And what you can actually do on this is to pick a bond or a bill that works for you. Keep on doing that. Okay, fine. With bonds and bills, you cannot be able to top up the money once you've invested. So what we do is to go ahead and buy new bills, buy new bonds as we go on. So what happens is that the moment you buy a new bond, therefore, for example, there's these people usually, for example, I have friends of mine who do this. I'm also a fan of this. So what you do is that each and every month you buy yourself a bill. So then it means like each and every month you're going to be having an income, because what happens on bills and bonds is that they pay after 6 months. So what you do is that you invest continuously on different months, and that way you can be able to get areas of how you can be able to get some cash each and every time. All right. Now, the other area that you can be able to invest on and get some returns out there is something called SACCOs. This may not apply for most of you guys if you're watching me from outside the country, but SACCOs in Kenya, they are quite popular and available, and you can go ahead and invest in these areas and get something and forget about working again. See, the point here is this: having or achieving what we call the financial freedom. All right, that is exactly how you go ahead and do things. Okay, the other thing and the last one that you can be able to invest on, as far as these investments are concerned, you can get into the businesses, but in a different perspective. How do you get that? You can actually go ahead and invest in existing business. We call it startups. You can invest in something called the startups. Okay, I know this idea is not that popular in Kenya, or maybe say in Africa, but this is what I usually look about. For example, say you want to start a restaurant business, and obviously we know it has a lot of moving parts. It's a bit tricky when you're starting up, you don't know much about the business. How about you invest on the existing businesses? I repeat, instead of going ahead and starting a whole of a new business, how about you invest on an existing business that is actually doing good? You can actually talk to people who are running that specific business. Maybe let's say their business is worth $1 million bob. You add them a certain $1 million bob or something of sort. Then from that, you can be able to getting some cash out of it. I have two friends of mine who are actually doing this business. And well, personally, I'm yet to get into. I'm still straightening up to see how exactly it works, but I'm saying it's kind of doing good. The guy is actually working with the Chinese, the other one is working with the Indians. For example, you go to people and they already have a business and you tell them, hey, you know what, I do have some this cash, maybe I can just surrender, and then you have the documentation, have your lawyer, and then you say, hey, guess what, this amount of money, then it's gonna be making me a certain percentage of cash, instead of going overly and starting a whole of a new business. Well, I know this is a kind of a new idea, but you can think about that. It's way better than actually going ahead and starting a business from scratch, because you need to have the experience, the learning method, the learning period, and all those kind of things until the business can actually be stable and actually grow yourself out there. And again, you need to have yourself a whole the management team for that, because the point here is not you working. So, but when you invest, for example, when you buy shares of different companies, we give them money, you give them quote unquote the stress part, then you get yourself off it because they already have an existing board of directors, the management, and everything. So you just give the money and then they give you the dividend. So if you can get an existing business, we call them startups, you can be able to go ahead and do something as far as that is concerned. All right, maybe startup may mean different thing from whatever you're watching me, but for me, that's what I interpret it as, what it means. Anyway, guess what, guys, if you would like to get more information of all the areas that I've talked about on this video, my number is always on the description of this specific video. Shoot me a call, go grab that number or grab me that email and give me a call and we can talk businesses. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.